Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great edition of Sports A2F. I'm your host, Logan Graffia, and on today's show, it's going to be a very Saints Forward episode. Training camp is happening. Preseason is vastly approaching. Whenever you're watching this, it's going to be this Saturday, and I, for one, am excited to see how some of these young guys look when we play the Cardinals August 10th or this Saturday, whenever you're watching this. And a lot of noise coming from training camp about injuries. The injury bug is hitting the team right now, but I rather it hit the team now so they can recover for September when the regular season gets here. And every training camp, it seems like there's always one MVP, one person not even flying under the radar anymore. But we've been burned before, and I hope this guy makes the team because I always wish success for everybody. Mason Tipton, undrafted wide receiver from Yale. A lot of my media colleagues out there in California, where Saints training camp is being held, every day that they make a report, it seems like Mason Tipton either made a great catch in traffic or just an incredible. He's just been catching everything so far. Now, is Mason Tipton going to be the next Lance Moore, or is he going to be the next training camp MVP like Emmanuel Butler was many years ago? I hope it's the Lance Moore and not the Emmanuel Butler, even though Emmanuel Butler is now in the UFL, but nevertheless. Now, if you look at, I'm looking at the undrafted free agent list, and another name that has been making a ton of noise in training camp for the New Orleans Saints is tight end Dallin Holker from Colorado State, tight end. The Saints and Dennis Allen, after they picked him up, said they viewed him as essentially an 8th round pick, quote unquote. Now, there's only 7 rounds in the NFL draft if you don't know that. But looking at the roster landscape as it stands, there's no reason. Well, I mean, there could be a reason, but I'm not going to speak on that. Don't want to get in trouble. There should be no reason this team shouldn't win 10 games. You have Clint Kubiak coming in, who, in his first year as an offensive coordinator in 2021 with the Minnesota Vikings, they went 8-9 that year in 2021 in Minnesota, but their offense was top 10, top 15 in the league that year with Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and Justin Jefferson. But nevertheless, there's no reason why this offense can't be top 10 in the league or even top 5. Now, will Derek Carr play his best football finally? I mean, he's a 10, 11-year vet, and we have to see. It all depends on Derek Carr. But with that being said, if things should go south, say things go south fairly quickly, and it would not surprise me if, say, the team started 0-5, which, knock on wood, I hope that does not happen. And people start getting fired, Dennis Allen gets fired and whatever. These are all hypotheticals, by the way. Please do not rain down on me. All hypotheticals. And Spencer Rattler gets thrown into the mix, and Clint Kubiak's the interim head coach. That could be possible, but it's crazy to absolutely think about. Now, the one position that intrigues me right now and kind of worries me, outside of offensive line, because I've been hearing from my media colleagues that the offensive line looks a little not that great right now, but things can only get better. You can only go up from here. That's my philosophy. outside the offensive line, the running back position, outside of Alvin Kamara, what do we have in Jamal Williams? Jamal Williams barely got to touch the football last year. Didn't get many carries in a workload like he did in Detroit the previous years. One running back on this roster that I've been hearing could make the 53 and see playing time is running back Jordan Mims. The Saints picked him up last year during the season. Didn't see much playing time, but he was mostly on the practice squad. He was on the regular season roster during the Houston game, but he was only in a special teams role. So they brought him back because I guess they liked what they seen. And as of today, Jordan Mims has a very good shot at making his 53-man roster. He really does. It would not surprise me because of the injury to Kendra Miller. I don't know the extent of Kendra Miller's injury, but Kendra Miller's young. We drafted him a couple years ago, and it just seems like every other game or practice, he was getting injured. And when he's healthy, he is fantastic. We've seen him in the preseason last year when he kept getting carries. He was catching passes on wheel routes. I mean, Kendra Miller has to stay healthy. That's the one thing. Dennis Allen even, and I'm paraphrasing here, even said he has to be healthy. That's the one thing about Kendra Miller. He has to be healthy. Now, the wide receiver room, they brought back Marquise Callaway, which is quite interesting to me because there's been injuries in camp, as I stated. But looking at the receivers that's going to make this team, Chris Olave, A.T. Perry, Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Wilson, we'll just write him in there, Bub Means, the rookie out of Pittsburgh, and he used to play for Louisiana Tech once upon a time too. Outside of those, let's see, let's count that up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. That's Bub Means, Chris Olave, A.T. Perry, Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Wilson. That's 5 wide receivers. Are the Saints going to carry 6? If they do, who makes that 6th spot? Is it going to be Equanimus St. Brown? Is it going to be Stanley Morgan Jr.? Is it going to be Mason Tipton, the training camp MVP? That is to be determined. Now, looking at the defensive side of the ball, Marshawn Lattimore is dealing with an injury, a hip flexor injury, but should be no reason to worry. You have 3 preseason games, and then your season doesn't kick off until September. You have time to get healthy. We're in early August right now. And you have time to get healthy. There should be no reason to sound the panic alarms. No reason to just panic at all. I know people have quarrels with this team for specific reasons, but looking at the makeup of this team, there's no reason why this team should not win 10 games at the most. That's the ceiling for me. The floor is 7. The floor for me is 7-10. The ceiling for me is 10-7. The secondary is going to be top 5 in the NFL. I'm saying that right now. The secondary on this team is going to be top 5 in the NFL. Marshawn Lattimore is going to be fine. He's going to be healthy by the time for game 1 rolls around. I mean, you have Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo. You have Kool-Aid McKinstry now at cornerback. You have Alante Taylor. You have Tyrann Mathieu. You have Jordan Howden. You have Jonathan Abram. We're going to throw him in there. You have Will Harris, who I've heard is making strides in camp too. And even Roderick Teamer, a former Tulane guy. There's your secondary. In my opinion, I think that could be top 5 secondary. I think they could be locked down. I mean, the Saints, since the Dennis Allen era started, has always been built on the defense. Now, that's the secondary. You look towards the trenches. I mean, you have DeMario Davis in the middle. You have Willie Gay outside of him. We also have Pete Warner. We play a 4-2-5, a nickel 4-2-5. And you will see a lot of that's 9 out of 10 times you'll see 2 linebackers. Very seldom will you see 3. But when you do, Willie Gay should be out there. Him and Pete Warner, I've heard, are going to be rotating. And I'm happy about that. Because Willie Gay is an incredible linebacker, and then I think it was a good pickup. Now, when you get to the defensive line, it starts with Cam Jordan, of course, the savvy vet. He's been here since 2011. He's a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Then you have Carl Granderson and Brian Brzee, the young guys. Brian Brzee surprised me last year. I was kind of against drafting Brian Brzee because of the injury history when he was in college, but he played very, very well last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing him take another leap. Now, the one thing that everyone was made aware of was, of course, Peyton Turner having a toe injury yet again. It would not surprise me if this is Peyton Turner's last year in New Orleans. It has just not worked out at all. He's been riddled with injuries since the day that the Saints drafted him years ago. And that is why I'm happy that they brought in Chase Young. Looking at what my media colleagues in California have been saying, and the footage that we've been seeing once they put the shoulder pads on, is Chase Young looks fantastic. Now, you have a defensive line coach in Todd Grantham. He is known for always being able to develop defensive lines. I mean, he's known for that. And you have a lot of young guys on the defensive line. I mean, Cam Jordan's the oldest one in that room, but you have Foskey, who I hope takes a leap this year. You have Brian Brzee. You drafted Christian Boyd, who I love, that picked to death. You have Carl Granderson. You have Colin Saunders. You have Nathan Shepard. And you have Chase Young now. Todd Grantham can put his hands on them and develop them. So, I think that the only worry I have is the offensive line. That's the only worry that I personally have. A lot of injuries on the offensive line, but I've heard great things about Talisi Fuaga, our first-round pick, at the left tackle spot. They've moved Trevor Penn into the right tackle spot. He's working his way to being good over there. You have Ruiz at the right guard spot, of course, and then you have Eric McCoy. The only problem right now is the left guard spot. Sal DeVary is dealing with an injury, and you're throwing in Lucas Patrick over there, Shane Lemieux. It's going to be interesting how they solve the offensive line issues, because if you don't have a great offensive line this year, Derek Carr is going to struggle. He is. You have to. I hope with this new zone blocking scheme that Clint Kubiak and John Benton are bringing in on the offensive side of the ball, that it helps protect Derek Carr better. Because if Derek Carr plays better, the Saints will win more. Well, you guys, that is all the time I have for you today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this YouTube show all across social media. I can't do this without you. You can find me on Twitter at TheSoulMan57. You can also follow You can also follow the Sports Etouffee YouTube page, Twitter page, at Sports Etouffee. There it is. If you want to find me on Facebook, I'm not hard to find. Just search my name, Logan Graffia. And again, be sure to share this podcast everywhere. So with that being said, you guys, I'm Logan Graffia. This has been another great edition of Sports Etouffee. I shall see you guys next time.